Hi, this is Eric from longboxreview.com, and this is The Gutters, my audio journal. Today's episode is the final of the three-part Catchup episodes. This time, I'm just going to talk about stuff that happened in my life in the last year, some of the highlights and whatnot. So, I mentioned this in the previous episode, talking about all the shows that we went to see during the year and into 2024. And so we did a lot of traveling and went to a lot of things. Not really post-pandemic, but that's what how everybody's referring to things, because the pandemic's still going on. Just in case you didn't know, but so there's that, and so this is the stuff that we did for the most part, and then a few other things that were, like I said, highlights of, or at least notable things to mention. But I'll start with this. Back in July 2023, I don't know what I did between. So the last time the episode that I released in 2023, the only Gutters episode I released in 2023 was in March, and so I don't know what I don't remember what we did in March, April, May, or June. So, but I'm sure we did something. Anyway, I'm starting off with July here, and this was we went to a place near Portland. I don't know. I don't remember now, but Great Wolf Lodge. If you're familiar with that place, there's a few of them around the country, or maybe it's a Northwest thing. I don't know. But it's kind of like one of those things where you go there and they've got an indoor water park. I think they've got video games, and they got these other activities for kids, and it's really for kids. And you could tell it used to be more focused on outdoors stuff, but they've gone with the times and made some changes, and so it was a weird mishmash of things at this place, but it was a lot of fun. It was to celebrate my granddaughter Hadley's 6th birthday, because that's where her parents wanted to hold it. And so my wife and I and Maddie went, and my son-in-law's parents came, and it was just a lot of fun. We, besides the birthday party part of it, which we did with cake and balloons and all that stuff, right? So really what I want to highlight here, they also have this outdoor, I don't know what you call it, but basically you climb up, you get attached to this line, and you're climbing up, high up, attached to these ropes on these little slats of wood, and I don't know what they call that thing. But I didn't like it because it gave me an anxiety, or I got a panic attack watching my kids, my Maddie and Hadley up there, and yeah, that's a thing. So there was that, that too. But then, really, what was really fun about this was, like I said, it's kind of a mishmash. So they also did this fantasy magic thing where if you if you purchased a wand, you could interact with these screens and other places, other things like on walls and the ceiling, and maybe not the floors, but you essentially did this whole search for various things. You're following clues to the next thing that the screen would give you, and it was just like this. It's like you're on a quest. So Madison and I, basically, the two of us, were walking around this entire thing over the course of a couple days, trying to reach the end of this quest, and following clues and trying to get the stupid wand to interact with the I don't know, with the infrared the sensor, I don't know, whatever the sensor is on the object that she was trying to interact with. Sometimes it would work and sometimes it wouldn't. And anyway, it was a whole thing, but it was kind of frustrating, but also kind of fun. And the bad thing about it, well, not bad, but the one thing I didn't like about it is because I really wanted to do stuff with Hadley too, but she was on a different quest than Madison was. And so I didn't want Madison to walk around all by herself. So I was with her. I mean, I totally loved it. It was a lot of fun, and I helped her figure out the clues and gave her suggestions on how to interact with things. So, I was helping win the quest. So I was part of the quest. So that was kind of neat. And then later, I think, yes. After that, after we got back to my daughter Brittany's house, we flew out to, is that right? I don't know. I don't remember now exactly, but we went to New York City in July of 2023, and Madison and I talked about that on the September 6th, 2023 episode of The Gutters. So if you're interested in listening to our trip to New York City, our first trip to New York City, seeing some Broadway shows and doing some other things, go listen to that episode for sure. And then after we got back from that trip, I kind of had I hesitate to say it, but felt like a bout of depression. I was not motivated to do anything through July and August, essentially. I let my podcast stuff pile up or ignored it, probably is the better description. I'm sure I frustrated Peter because I wasn't really into doing the Legion Project episode or episodes that we were planning on doing. I really did not feel like doing anything. I mostly just came home from work and sat on my chair and was on my phone, or I watched TV a little bit, but I just was not motivated to do anything. And that kind of led to a discussion with my wife, and because of the panic attacks I've been having over the last few years, decided to go finally talk to my doctor about it. And she gave me a prescription. She'd given me some, before this, she had given me some pills to help when I have a panic attack. But she just prescribed, I don't know what they call those generally, but she gave me I think maybe it's a antidepressant. I don't remember. I don't know what they call them, but that class of drug to help level me off, essentially, is because I was feeling overwhelmed a lot of the time. And sometimes I kind of described it this way to anybody who will listen. And apparently I'm doing it now here with you. I wasn't planning on doing this, but on this episode, but okay, here we go. This is what I do on The Gutters. But it's kind of like that anxiety just kind of fills up in me. And then when it kind of overflows like a bathtub or a sink or something, that's when I get panic attacks. And so she was trying to help keep that, it's a horrible analogy, that water level, at in a safe zone and not well up in me. Although it still happens, even though I'm on that medication. So I started to get that help, and it has helped quite a bit. I still feel that anxiety in me, especially when I think about it or talk about it. So I will need to move on from this, I think, quickly. But like I said, it's helping. I've gone back to her recently in the last few months, and she basically nothing really changed for me other than it's tapered off because of the medication. So she's trying to help me figure out, well, what is there a biological reason this is going on? So we had done some additional tests. Those recently came back as basically negative. So, maybe I just need to go talk to somebody. I don't know. But, yeah, it's something I've been dealing with for 2 to 3 years. I talked a little bit about the panic attacks before on a previous Gutters episode, but I didn't really get into the overall long-term problem I'm experiencing. And this, I'm partially doing this as well because of my brother-in-law, who put on Facebook recently that, you know, he's been having a hard time, and especially he talked about how men have a really hard time talking about this or refuse to talk about this, and that's just wrong. And that kind of inspired me to eventually talk about it here. Like I said, I wasn't planning on doing it on this episode, but here we are. So I guess this is my encouragement to you if you are listening and you have a mental health issue like I do, that seek some help. Get some help, whether it's taking a pill like I do or talking to someone, which is probably what I'm going to end up doing, you know, whatever. I have been, it's not like I don't talk about it with someone. I do. I've been talking to my wife this whole time. And that does help, especially when I'm going through something. It used to be that I would not talk to her and it would just overwhelm me, and then I'd have an episode and then I would talk to her and I'd feel better about it. But what I'm doing now is when I start to feel that way, I immediately start talking to her. I find that doing that distracts me from that. The way I described it to her and to my doctor is it's like a feedback loop. Once I start feeling that way, then I think about it and I'm feeling it, and it just seems to build and build and build. It's just like I can't break out of that feedback loop, that cycle, until it just overwhelms me. But I have found recently there's been a couple times where I'm starting to feel that anxiety build up and build up and build up, and I immediately start talking to Kitra, and she's also gotten really good at recognizing when I'm going through something. And she asked me about it, and that gives me that opening to like say, yes, I'm feeling something here, and talk to me, distract me, give me a hug, because that really helps too. That physical contact with my wife, those hugs really helps me get through that. That works for me. I don't, everybody's different. So, but all I'm really saying is if you're going through stuff, seek help, before it gets, overwhelming or too much, or, so there you go. I've now just, bared my deep, dark secret, to anyone who's listening. And, at the very least, like I said, if this helps someone, great. Me talking more about it, that also helps. Even if it's just to my microphone, but via my microphone to you, now you know, and there it is. Whatever. Here I am. So let's move on. All right. In September, at work, there was a celebration for people that they do these every year, where people who are celebrating certain milestones of having been at the company, they provide a dinner and they do a presentation, and it's just a way to celebrate those of us who have been at the company for 10, 15, 20, I don't know. I don't remember the numbers, but it's like those 10, 20, 25, something like that. But 25 years. Actually, it was last June. So June 2023, it was my anniversary of my 25 years at the company that I work at currently. But they did the celebration in September, and I wasn't going to go because I don't like to go to those things. And I don't, well, part of that previous thing that I talked about, One of the things that sometimes triggers my anxiety, and actually it's most of the time, is being in crowds, large groups of people. I, for some reason, I don't like that anymore. So wasn't going to go, but Kitra really wanted me to, because it's her 25th anniversary at the job too, because she actually started 1 month before I did there. And she was going to go, and she took Madison as her +1, and I just went to hang out. It was a nice dinner. It was a good dinner. I guess the nice thing about it is that the company will, in our names, provide a donation to whatever charity we choose. And so I believe I chose the American Cancer Society because, and I've talked about this before as well, but my mom and my sister both died from cancer or things relating to cancer. Anyway, so there's that 25 years at the company and basically 20 years basically being the manager of this group that I manage now. So not a lot of upward mobility at this job for me, but that's fine too. I don't really care about that kind of stuff, but yeah. And then also in September, we the three of us, my wife, Maddie, and I went to Rose City Comic-Con. And Maddie and I talked about that on episode 235 back in October, on October 18th. That's the episode date release for that episode. So again, go listen to that if you want to hear all the deets of our trip to Rose City Comic-Con. And I don't think I need to go back to that one for a while. And talk about the crowd situation. Oh boy. That was difficult at times as well, but I also wore a mask the whole time because I did not want to get sick. Did not get concred at all. Did not get sick at all because I think I wore the mask anyway. In early December, we went out to Vancouver, Washington to spend or to celebrate my grandson's 3rd birthday. Hudson turned 3 last December. And so we did that, and then also did Christmas, an early Christmas gift exchange with my daughter's family and ourselves. That was a lot of fun. I adore my grandchildren. Hadley's 6, like I said, going to be 7 soon, and Hudson being 3. And boy, they talk about the terrible 2s. His 3s have been. He's quite rambunctious. I'll just say that at times, but he's so much fun to hang out with and see things through his eyes. And he loves Spider-Man now, which, oh my God, I can't stand it. And he always wants to call and talk to Grandpa on the phone on FaceTime. So I love that kid. All my kids. I love all my kids so much. Let's see here. Later in the month, just after Christmas. But like I said, I've talked about my hatred of December. I think I actually called the episode I effing hate December, or I hate December, something like that. But I effing hate December for various reasons. And two of those are because my mom and my younger sister, they both share a birthday on December 10th. And so every December 10th. So that was around the time of Hudson's birthday party, Christmas together. And I was feeling sad and anxious about that because they both also died later in December. So it's weird, this weird convergence of this. And this year, in particular, I had a hard time around the anniversaries of their deaths, and had some anxiety about that as well. So yeah, not great. And now I got to work through this, but I got to somehow reconcile all that because it's around Christmas time, and my wife loves Christmas, and It's supposed to be fun and joyful, and it's just not for me anymore. And then, of course, on top of that, I turned 55 last December, and so that probably helped contribute to it. Yeah, so that whole between the 21st of December is when my sister died, and then within that next week is the anniversary of my mom's death, and then the next day is my birthday. So, yeah. Basically, I took that day off of work because I don't like really celebrating my birthday. I don't like to have parties. I just don't care for it. Especially nowadays, especially during those anniversaries. But anyway, I took the day off to avoid that and just be at home. And I woke up that morning and all I wanted to do was crawl under the covers and just stay in bed the whole day. But fortunately, I talked to my wife. We talked through it. And then we had, I felt better. And then we had, she took me out for a lovely birthday dinner at a local restaurant, which is one of the best restaurants in this area. There are two, what I would call high-end boutique restaurants. They have limited menus. They have great chefs. And it's always delicious whenever we go to these two restaurants. And so one of these is called Black Cypress, and we haven't been there in a while, probably a few years. And instead of going to the other place, which is called it's called Lodgepole, but it's great food. But so I stuffed myself so much with food and drink, dessert. Jesus, I could probably not eat for 2 days after that meal, but it helped. It helped a lot. Just the three of us sitting at dinner, and just enjoying our company and the great food. And then the next day we went to Spokane again, but this time just to do some shop. I just wanted to get away. I wanted to get away from, I don't know, the house. But just get away, just go do something, because of the way I was feeling. And so we went to Spokane, did some shopping. That's where my wife bought that Machado book that I talked about last episode, in the Dream House, and a few other books, some poetry collections by my favorite poet, Sharon Olds, which I did not have. And so I'm currently reading one of those books called Arias. And so there's that. And there's an Irish, put that in quote marks, Irish restaurant in downtown Spokane, which is actually near the theater where all the Broadway productions are put on. Anyway, we went there and had a great dinner too, because I love Irish food, even though I sort of Irish food, but delicious food. We had a great time. Yeah, it was just a lovely day. It was a nice way to, one, celebrate my birthday, but also to keep me from sinking further into that, I don't know what, that pit that I was feeling earlier in the week. So anyway, fast forward. So we make it through December, and then January is this slow crawl into the new year. And then we had what we had to look forward to was a trip with my daughter Brittany and her family to do go on a Disney cruise, and also spend a few days at Disney World in Florida. And so we were very much looking forward to that. Like I said, especially coming out of the holidays for me. And then I got sick in early February. And it sort of felt like the way I felt when I had the flu several years ago, which was to say it was just like my whole body was just like, I don't know. I felt like I was hit by a car. And just feeling miserable. And basically for 2 days, I sat either in bed or I sat in my chair and watched TV, and maybe I scrolled on my phone a little bit, but that's all I could do. It was not great. And then that second day, I decided, oh, you know what? This doesn't. I don't know what this is, because it wasn't quite the flu, but it felt like a really bad cold. So I decided to test for COVID just to be safe, because I didn't want to go back to work anytime soon if that was the case. I also didn't want to, affect or impact us going anywhere on that trip, right? And then so that second day I tested, I took the test, and oh my God, it was positive. I had COVID after what, 3 years of avoiding it. And not, when the pandemic really hit, we didn't go anywhere. We didn't socialize hardly at all and it was only with family. But there were times when our extended family wanted to get together, like at Christmas time or birthdays or stuff, and we said no because we weren't comfortable with that situation. So we did our best to isolate ourselves, not potentially affect other people, because at the time Madison was going every other weekend to spend at her mother's, and they don't mask, they didn't take the pandemic seriously. And so there was that risk of, when Madison would come back home, that they could be infected, and in turn she could infect us. So that never happened. When the schools reopened, there was masking for a while, but in the second year after that, no masking unless students wanted to. So there was always that risk that Madison could get infected by somebody with COVID from school, and of course, again, in turn, infect us. That hadn't happened. But this is probably just coincidence, but right before that, I forget now which one it was. It had to have been 6, because we went to 6, I think, late January. I don't know what it. Maybe it was Stomp. No, I don't think so, because we were over that. No. Yes, it had to have been 6, because Kitra was there with us when I remember this thing. Somebody behind us sneezed when we were at the show, and I wasn't wearing a mask at that one. And I thought, oh my God, if I get sick from this right before our trip, and I wasn't thinking COVID, of course. I was just thinking just getting sick, right? And then I get sick. Could be coincidence. It could be. I had a lunch, a work lunch with my work group and a few other people that used to be part of our work group, and we all got together right before that too. That could have been that. It could have been someone at the restaurant. I don't know. All I know is I got COVID, and then I started to feel better. Well, I had COVID, and my wife contacted our doctor, and she prescribed Paxlovid for me, and that really helped to mitigate the symptoms. But I was also starting to feel much better after like 2 or 3 days of that. And then I isolated at home, of course. I started because I took the Paxlovid, I was able to work remotely. And so I was getting to my 5 days that they recommend, which I don't think is enough, but whatever. And then Kitra started feeling sick, and she got COVID, and then Madison got COVID. So we were all affected by it. And then so basically I ended up working for 2 weeks at home, which is fine. I did not mind that at all. Actually, I didn't have to wear a tie or put on my slacks for 2 weeks, which is great. But what it was potentially impacting us being able to go on that Disney cruise, Disney World trip with our daughter. Because if we were still testing positive, we would not go, period. So So we had to work through that, and fortunately, we all did not test positive. Or yeah, we all tested negative right before we went to it, and we did check with the cruise line, and basically they're like, they don't care as long as you're not testing positive. They apparently don't care, and we and I wore masks while we were on the plane. Well, actually, we wore masks on the flight out, and then I would wear a mask when we were in large groups of people and stuff. Indoors especially. So we worked through it. We were able to go. Quite honestly, we probably shouldn't have gone anyway. Now, because I've done some further reading on in infectious. What's the data about how COVID is spread, basically, or something like that. But anyway, and that I just read this like within the last week or so that it's more than 5 days. It's it could be 2 weeks or something like that. Don't quote me on this, but it was longer than what the CDC is saying about how you could spread the infection. And I'm like, oh shit, oops, we probably shouldn't have gone on that trip. But yeah, it's just amazing how many people I saw. I only saw a few people, very few people wearing masks anywhere, on the cruise, on Disney World, nothing. But and you would think I would now talk about that trip, that Disney cruise, Disney World trip, but no, I'm sorry, I'm going to have to tease that one because Madison and I plan on sitting down together and doing a retrospective on or overview or whatever you want to call it on that particular trip. And so I guess this is where I will leave you. If you want to reach out to me about anything that I've discussed on this episode, please do so. Email me at longboxreview@gmail.com. If you are comfortable with public-facing comments, you can leave those at the blog site as well. And with that, thank you so much for listening. Really, for listening this time, especially as I describe my medical issue. So I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.